Hi, my name is Stephanie and welcome back or welcome to my channel. Today I will be kind of sharing the pros and cons and my experience of living here in Castle Mill. I am nearly at the end of my tenancy. There is not much time left, and so I thought it would be time to kind of do a review video of Castle Mill. So first of all, I'm just going to start with listing some basic facts about Castle Mill, and then I will be going into the pros, and then later into some of more the grey area bits of Castle Mill, and then into the cons, and then it will end on whether or not I would recommend you rent from Castle Mill. I hope this video will help you answer most of the questions you have about living in Castle Mill. At least I had a bunch and I couldn't really find much online about Castle Mill. So first of all, Castle Mill is graduate accommodation. So if you are an undergrad, you cannot live in Castle Mill. You can only live in Castle Mill when you are an active student at the University of Oxford, or if your significant other is an active student at the University of Oxford. Castle Mill is located near the city. It's not quite in the city centre, it's kind of next to it. It's also not quite in Jericho, so in order to get into the city you either have to go across the train tracks into Jericho, or you have to go past the train station into the city centre. Castle Mill has a variety of different styles of rooms, but most of them, as far as I'm aware, are single rooms with an ensuite with shared kitchen. They also have studio apartments with their own kitchen, and larger flats are a bit more limited on availability. So these were kind of the basic facts about Castle Mill. Now we'll be going into all of the pros that I have listed for Castle Mill. Also, I want to start this video by saying that this is based on my personal experience, so somebody else could have had a totally different experience here at Castle Mill. This is my personal experience and my personal opinion about Castle Mill. Castle Mill consists of blocks from block A all the way to block L. One of the massive pros about Castle Mill is that it is relatively new. Even the older bit, which is brick built, which are buildings A, B and C, those are all also relatively new, which means that it's insulated well, there is no squeaky floors, it's actually all very decently built, and it's all very clean still. The more modern building, so that will be block D all the way through L, as far as I'm aware they come with an elevator, and as far as I'm aware block A, B and C do not have an elevator. And also as far as I'm aware the gatehouses do not have an elevator, it's only the proper blocks that have elevators. Also, the rooms are very big. All rooms in Castle Mill are en suite, so you will have your own little bathroom. You will come with a shower, a toilet, a sink and a towel rack. The shared kitchen is also very, very large. And the only downside to the kitchen is that you cannot move around the furniture. Apart from that, the kitchen gets cleaned by cleaners twice a week, which is really nice. So you don't have to worry about cleaning your kitchen. Another pro would be, maybe I just didn't have any noisy neighbors, but I really didn't have a lot of noise coming from anywhere. I did sometimes hear my upstairs neighbor walking around, or I heard somebody giggling when their window was open or whatever, but apart from that I don't really have any noise issues with any of my neighbors, so I think in terms of noise it's actually pretty good. At least in my experience it is. On top of that, it's graduate housing by the university, so you won't be dealing with a private landlord, which can be absolutely wonderful and helpful, especially during COVID when we were put on a rent pause. Not having to deal with a private landlord also means that if you have a light bulb that's gone out, or your oven doesn't work, or you have some kind of issue, you can just call the maintenance office and they come in and they fix it for you. Another massive pro about Castle Mill is all of the facilities that it has. Castle Mill is set up in different separate buildings, and in between some of those buildings there are gatehouses. Gatehouses have access to the outside, and it's also where your doorbell is located. And in those gatehouses downstairs there generally is a kind of common space that you can use, and there are 3 of those, one of which is a children's play area. The other one is a music room, because there actually is a full-on piano in there, and the third one is currently being used as a ping pong room. So it has a massive ping pong table in it, and you can just go there and just play ping pong, which is really nice. Also, block A has a very large common room with multiple couches in it, a large table and a kitchen. Currently there's a lot of stuff being donated because people are moving out, so the bags with stuff to donate are just piling out of the donation bins. So I'm sorry for the site there, but That's the kitchen that we all can use if we want to. So if you want to hang out with somebody but you don't want to hang out with them inside of your room or in your communal kitchen, you can just go to one of the other available spaces. Castle Mill is also really close to Portmeadow, which is really nice if you just want to go on a walk or you just want to have a barbecue in Portmeadow with your flatmates. It's absolutely wonderfully close to Portmeadow. It's absolutely fun to live so close to Portmeadow. Also, the entirety of Castle Mill is gated, so you cannot just enter Castle Mill. You need a key to be able to enter the site, so no outsiders can enter Castle Mill unless they get let in by somebody. Another pro is that I've never felt not safe in the surrounding area of Castle Mill. It is in a bit of a weird road behind the train station, and there is also a weird walking path leading up to Castle Mill. Weirdly enough, I never really felt unsafe, even late at night coming back from hanging out with friends or having a couple of drinks. I've never had an unsafe feeling around Castle Mill at all, not on the grounds and not near it, so I'm very happy to say that I feel it's very safe. Another pro about the room specifically is that it comes with pretty nice furniture. This is one of the bookcases. They're quite sturdy, they look nicer than your average university furniture, and the desk that comes with your room is absolutely massive. It's the biggest desk that I've ever had. It's even bigger than most of the desks that I get in a library when I book a slot. Also downstairs there is the bin storage, which is where you can drop off all of your garbage. You do have to separate garbage into recycling, compostables and just general landfill trash, and you can drop it off downstairs in the bin store, and there are multiple bin stores on the side. Another very nice feature is that you have one key for everything. So with your one fob, which is your room key, you can open any door in Castle Mill except for other people's rooms, of course, and other people's kitchens, but you can essentially go into all of the communal spaces. You can go into any of the gates in Castle Mill that give you entry onto the site. Maybe a bit less important, but Castle Mill is also more on the way to some larger grocery stores. So if you go down to Botley, which is not into Oxford but the other way, you're ending up there at a large Aldi and a large Waitrose. So if you want to go to any of those two stores, they are there, and living in Castle Mill, you're just a bit closer to them than if you live in central Oxford. Now I'm entering more of the grey area, which for some people could be a pro and for some people could be a con. First one is that there will be children living on site, because some of the graduates that live here are doing a PhD. They are a bit older. Some of them have small children, hence the children play area that I mentioned earlier, which for me and my flatmates was quite a shock when we entered our graduate accommodation to find a children's play area right in front of our block. We were kind of confused about that, but there are people here with children who live on site as well, and for us as 23, 24-year-olds, we were a bit kind of like, oh, okay, that's a bit weird. If you think about it, it's actually quite logic. So I think one of the main things about Castle Mill is that it is a bit further away. It's not really in the center. If you look at the map, it actually looks quite close. It's actually very close to my college, but the thing is, you always have to cycle up through Jericho or down past the train station or the business school. Even though you're quite close on the map, you always have to like go around the train tracks, which can be sometimes a bit of a hassle. I think it's about a 25-minute walk to the city centre, to Corn Market Street in Oxford, and it's also, I think it's about like a 7-8 minute bike ride. I bike everywhere. I have not been bothered with the distance at all, but maybe if you're not quite a cycling person, the distance could be more of a con than a pro for you. A lot of people over here own bicycles. There are covered bicycle storages where you can store your bicycle. Cycling in Oxford, I'd say, is pretty safe, which also kind of ties in the next bit, is that it's really close to the business school, to Said Business School. So if you are going there and you are pursuing a degree at the business school, consider Castle Mill to live in, because it's really, really close to Said Business School, and there is a lot of MBA students, for example, living here on site. Another thing that could be seen as either a pro or a con really are the trains. On one side of Castle Mill are the allotments. Those are little gardens that people care for and grow vegetables in, and on the other side we are close to the train tracks. I'm personally not bothered by it. I tend to sleep with my windows closed unless it's extremely hot like this, like these past couple of days. I sleep with my windows open, and then I do notice the trains coming by. But in winter, if it's cold in the UK, and if you just sometimes air out your room but don't leave the windows open for too long, I don't really think that you should be bothered by all the trains. When you are a person who likes to have a window open 24/7, maybe see if you can get a flat or a room that's a bit closer to the elements instead of the railway tracks, if that makes sense. Another kind of grey area bit would be that the setup of the rooms that share a kitchen is quite individualistic. So it's not quite a flat where you walk in and you use your key to get into the flat and then you can kind of freely move around. It's in essence just a long hallway, and on either side you have doors, and you need your own key to go into your door, and then you need the same key to go into your kitchen. And essentially everybody in Castlemill can just walk into your hallway, if that makes sense, but they can't go into your rooms or your kitchen because their foot won't work on your doors, but they can actually walk around in all of the buildings. So the setup is kind of individualistic. So if you are not really looking on engaging with your flatmates, you should be fine. I was very lucky that my flatmates were all very open and that we wanted to hang out a lot, and we have had some great nights drinking beer in the kitchen all together. So it's essentially the best of both worlds. So if you have a flat that doesn't really work together that well, you can kind of probably just more keep to yourself. If you have a very sociable flat and you kind of all work together very well, you can hang out in your kitchen. Only downside to the kitchen is it only has 4 chairs while you're sharing it with 6 people. We've never quite understood why that was the case. So now all of this brings me to more of the cons of living in Castlemill. I think the absolute biggest con of Castlemill is parcel delivery. It's dreadful because delivery man cannot really get in. They have to tap in your doorbell twice to go into the gatehouse, and then have a bunch of parcels, and then the door closes. We're not in half of the time because we're in a library or something else. So what they do is they just kind of leave your parcels somewhere around Castlemill, sometimes even outside of the gate instead of inside of the gate. The reception is closed over the weekends and it closes at about like 5 in the afternoon on weekdays, so they don't accept any parcels for people, which means that a lot of parcels are just kind of left out in the open, most of the times within the gates. Still, unfortunately, parcels do disappear. We do think as Castlemill residents that it's not the residents that take them, but probably people are walking around and end up climbing the fences or something similar like that. But parcels do tend to disappear. I've had 2 disappear so far, which is actually pretty good track record, but I just contacted Amazon. I think Amazon is aware of the issue because they really didn't bother with anything. They just reset me the item. The strategy to go around this is when you get your email that your parcel from whichever company it is gets delivered, to just go on a parcel hunt, because it can literally be anywhere in Castlemill. It can be in a gatehouse, can be in your block, can be at like the reception outside sitting on the floor, it can be anywhere. So it's just, you know, always a bit of a hunt to find your parcel in this space. Another downside is the laundry situation, because for the entirety of Castlemill there are only 3 laundry facilities. There is one in block A, B and C. I do not specifically know where that one is. There is one in between block E and F, and there is one way further down close to block L. I think that is block L, which means that we are sharing 9 washers and 9 dryers with the entirety of Castlemill, which means that our WhatsApp group that we have going on blows up with people asking them to please remove their laundry from the washing machine because they want to use it. And it also means that I tend to do laundry very late at night, because then I just know that I can just do it all at once. But you kind of have to kind of find a time slot where it works for you to go do laundry. I definitely had my fair shares of walking over to the laundry buildings and not having a washer available, walking over to the next washing facility and again nothing available. And honestly, if you want to use a washer, somebody hasn't shown up for 15 minutes, just take their load out and put it on top of it, or put it in their laundry hamper if they put one on top of the washer or dryer, and then you can just go ahead and use it. Another bit of a downside is that we cannot really open the windows really far because they're all restricted, so we can only open them for about 10 centimeters, which in hot days can be very annoying. And also if you open both your windows, they kind of block each other off because the one is going at diagonal, the other one is going at different diagonal, and they're kind of blocking incoming wind. But some people do find a way around this and open their windows way further, but I'm gonna leave that up to you. A downside to having the same key and using that key for literally anything on site is that it is very easy to lock yourself outside of, for example, the laundry. Let's say you're doing laundry, you put your key on top of your washing machine and you walk outside, and then you're like, oh no, I have my laundry but I don't have my key, and now I can't get into my building, so now I have to like type in the room number of one of my flatmates. Hopefully they're in and they can kind of save me and get my key out of the laundry area. So it's actually quite easy to lock yourself out of like a laundry area. Another weird thing which comes with electronic locks is that they store your fob data, so they know when you're in and when you're out, and in my case it has been accessed in a non-emergency reason, which I'm pretty sure is a privacy issue, but yeah, that's probably a downside to just electronic locks in general. Our downside is the fact that you need to use your key to get into your own kitchen. It would have been more logical to have the door in front of the hallway being closed off, and that you can kind of freely walk around your hallway and freely go into the kitchen. However, if you have all of your dishes and you're carrying it, you have to go through two very heavy doors and you need to use your key to get into the kitchen, so it can be a bit of a hassle to kind of manage all of that. Another downside to living so close to train tracks is that we do sometimes have idling trains. Some trains just sit there idling for hours and hours and hours. I'm personally not affected by it. As I said earlier, I tend to keep my windows closed as long as it's not extremely warm. And my final downside to Castlemill is that bike theft does occur, and one way to deter bike thieves is just get proper bike lock your bike properly. And if you buy a very expensive bicycle, buy an expensive lock for your expensive bicycle, because if you have a 300-400 pound bike, a 15 pound Amazon lock is not going to secure it. It's just not going to happen. So please do keep that in mind to buy proper bike locks, not just for here Castlemill, Oxford in general. Bike theft is a thing. Mine is still here. Should like knock on wood somewhere. Castlemill did improve their security though. While we were here, they put up security cameras and they made anti-climb strips up against the walls and on the gate, so it's harder to actually climb into Castlemill. And since I haven't really heard anybody complaining about more bikes being stolen. So yes, that's all for all of my pros and all of my cons about Castlemill. I hope this helped you out. In general, my end verdict would be, do I recommend living in Castlemill? I would say yes. I really enjoyed living here. I'm gonna miss my room. I really liked it. I really liked my flatmates. I got pretty lucky with them too, but also just the entire vibe of Castlemill being so close to Port Meadow, and essentially everything is a 10-minute bike ride away at max. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way to the end. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a long video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this helped you out. If you have any other questions about my experience living in Castlemill, feel free to leave a comment, and please like, comment, subscribe, and rewatch all of my videos to see what my entire Oxford experience was like. See you around.